Hi guys, welcome back to FOOTY. So today I'm going to talk about 3 centre backs that I would sign right now in this transfer market to improve Tottenham squad quality. So guys, the criteria you use to choose the players were quality, obviously, no low injury history, up to 28 years old and max 55 million euros. So guys, starting with Alexsandro. This guy actually surprised me a lot in the last season and in this season because I didn't know about him that much, but I've seen him playing for Lille. Like, he's just so good, so quality. What impresses me a lot about him is that he plays on the left, but he's right-footed. Actually, he's ambidextrous, like he uses both feet. I want, like, for this price, for 20, maybe they would want 25 for him. I think for this price, he is a good option on the market. He's good at aero duels. He is good. Like, his pass completion is very good. He doesn't make much mistakes. He is actually quality on the ball as well. So I think for offensive teams, he might be very good. And also his slide tackles are very good as well. Like, as he's ambidextrous, he can slide tackle with both feet, which I don't know if you noticed this, but like a lot of centre backs do not do this. Like, he's not a no-nonsense centre back, if that makes sense. Someone who will always clear the ball. Like, I don't want the ball, just throw it away. He's actually quality. He will take the ball, and then the next step would be like, what can I do to help my team to build the attack now that we have the ball? He won't just clear the ball away. But even though he takes a lot of risks in like carrying the ball, passing progressively the ball, he does not make much mistakes, which is good as well. Oh, and I actually forgot to say that he started to play for the Brazilian national team, so I think his price will actually increase a lot. So if anyone wants to sign this guy paying not a huge amount of money, now is the time. And if you compare him to Van de Ven, they are not so dissimilar, to be honest. Van de Ven will have will have more mistakes because he's even more riskier as a player. Like, he is more willing to take risks, even though Alexsandro is also willing to take a lot of risks. And even though he is shorter than Van de Ven, he is better at aerial duels as well. Because, as I say, Van de Ven is not so good at aerial duels. But in general, I think they're quite similar. Even though I would say Van de Ven is has more quality, even more quality on the ball. And I also say that they could play together as like a duo in case. I'm not saying that he's as good as Romero, far from it. But like, I think he's a good player to have in the squad, like to be the third centre back, let's say, or even the starter, because now that Thomas Frank is basically confirmed at Tottenham, he sometimes plays with 3 at the back. So this guy would be very, very, very good. So the next one, Bisseck from Internazionale Milano, or Internazionale, or Inter, like say as you want. He plays on the right-footed, 24 years old, so he's quite young actually. His salary is not so expensive, or is not so high, I should say. But the problem is that his contract expires in 2029, so it's quite hard to sign him unless Inter wants to sell him, if that makes sense. Individually speaking, his stats are quite impressive. Like, look at those numbers, like assists, total shots, progressive passes, progressive carries, because he usually gets the ball and then carries the ball. He doesn't necessarily clear the ball or pass the ball. He can also carry the ball for long distances. I said he's quite young, but like, he has 20 goals and 8 assists in his career, which is a lot. Like, even though his stats are very impressive, I need to say that Inter play with 3 at the back, and they play in a very specific way, or they have been playing in the last 2, 3, 4 seasons in a very specific system where the centre backs, at least let's say the lateralized centre backs like Bisseck and Bastoni, they usually carry the ball and create good chances, as if they were, let's say, an 8, for example. So his numbers are also inflated because of this. But anyway, that just shows how good he is on the ball. So again, comparing to Van de Ven, they are not so dissimilar. Like, Van de Ven is even more offensive. Like, Van de Ven must be one of the most offensive centre-backs in the world, actually. So it's very normal for Van de Ven to win in this type of comparison, like with progressive passes, pass completion in mid-range, basically all the things that take risk. But Bisseck is way better at aerial duels, both defensively and offensively. I also think that he brings some not aura, but like, even though his quality, he can be if he wants, like the no-nonsense centre-back. But I think if you sign this type of player, you want him to try as much as possible and to take risks, because that is what he is good at. So it wouldn't make much sense to say, no, just clear the ball, don't try progressive passes and etc. So guys, Murillo from Forest, like what it is almost like a redundancy to just talk about all of his qualities because he's just so good and everyone knows that, like everyone watches the Premier League, so it's like obvious. But I think he would be perfect for Tottenham because he's like only 22 years old. He is a left-footed, which is very hard to find in the market. But the problem is, again, like his contract, it's very hard to sign someone if they have like that many years left in his contract. I personally think Spurs should try to sign this guy. And there's an aspect that could be a problem that he's not so tall. But like we have in history, in football history, we have a lot of centre-backs that weren't so tall and that were quality, like Cannavaro, Puyol, etc. Obviously, I'm not saying he will be a legend like those guys, just to illustrate that you don't need to be like huge to be a centre-back. Talking about aura, that's the guy you want. If you want centre-back with aura, like who gave the feeling of there is no way we're gonna dribble this guy, that is him. I think he's also not bad on the ball, like don't get me wrong, but I think his best usage is like the no nonsense centre-back. If you play Football Manager, you know what I'm talking about, like the centre-back who won't take a lot of risk, he will just stop people from scoring basically. Like look at his take-ons, like 98. He scores 98 compared to other centre-backs in the 5 big European leagues. That is madness. And blocks as well, like 97, just insane good. I think him, Romero, and in case Romero doesn't leave obviously, and Van de Ven could be like an insane back three. Or maybe Van de Ven could play as a left back and then Murillo would play as a centre back on the left and Romero on the right. Like that would be an insane defense. So comparing him to Van de Ven, by the way, you can just look and see how different they are. Like they're completely opposites. And I don't think that is a bad thing actually. I think that is very good, to be honest, because like you have different players in your squad, you can do different things basically. Obviously, unless you are like Barcelona who wants to play a very specific way every single game, then in this case it's different. But in general, I think it's very good to have different players to bring different things to the squad. And I actually forgot to say that even though he's way shorter than Van de Ven, he is better at aero duels as well. Like his percentage of aero duels won is higher as well. The caveats that I have, like something that I am curious to see is how will he perform in context when the team is actually protagonist, because Forest, don't get me wrong, Forest is actually a good team, very good team, but like they are not, like they don't need to be protagonist in the game, if that makes sense. And in Brazil as well, Murillo played for a team that is known for being very defensive. So I want to see him playing for a team that needs to be a protagonist in the game. So that's one of the few things that I don't actually know if he's good at, because I've never seen him playing for like playing consistently, being a protagonist. Then there's also actually something else that I think is negative, which is all the hype around him. I think that will make his price very high, even maybe overpriced. So guys, who would you sign? Would you pay a lot of money for Murillo? I'm messing up Brazilian with English now. Would you pay a lot of money for Murillo? Or maybe you prefer paying like 20/25 for Alexsandro, or maybe 30/35 for Bisseck? So who would you choose? In theory, you can actually buy like or sign 2 of them compared to Murillo, but at the same time Murillo is Premier League proven, which is very important as well. Like he is used to that insane intensity in the Premier League. So let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with a friend in case I have said anything useful, and see you in the next time. Bye.